Hello? Yeah. Am I audible? Okay. Okay. This is a somewhat difficult word, Farida, and it doesn't sit comfortably at all, but I will say that it's also a film you cannot stop watching. It's a film that draws you in, the images draw you in. You feel you're with these people and you're watching life unfolding before you, some of the most difficult moments of life. And their last days, and it's, your images take us there into their homes with them. I will come back to your filmmaking style a little later, but could you start by sharing with us where did this film begin for you? How did this idea of palliative care and following a team of palliative caregivers come to you?
Actually it came to me in a kind of roundabout way, because actually, you can hear me, right? Yeah. So I was actually researching a film on rural healthcare in India. And I was looking for a rural doctor and to show his or her work. And, but during the course of that research, I came across quite randomly to an article written on the work of Cancer Support, which is the NGO that the team belongs to, that they work for. And for me, it brought back a lot of memories, because I had taken care of my parents for like 6 years. That was about like 10 years ago, but it sort of brought back that. And I actually, at that time, didn't know that palliative care actually existed in India. And so when I read about this, I thought, this is something I actually want to explore. And that's what started it. I said, let me see, whether they will agree to this, and this is something that people should know, that there actually is some bit of palliative care, because I didn't have access to it, and I think it would have helped me and my parents tremendously had there been people who were trained to do this work actually come externally from outside to help us. Because we always rely on like other family members or relatives or, and they are not trained to do this. So that was important.
Yeah. So one more question before I open it out. Of course, we know about your earlier film and your, the kind of images that you make. In this film, could you share how you came to this sort of very intimate kind of images that we see? Clearly, one part is, of course, the logistics of it, because you need to have that absolute trust of the patients and their families and of the caregivers. To have you with them right there, which makes us feel that we are with them right there. So that is one part of it, but also, politically, aesthetically, to sort of decide how you wanted to shoot this. Could you share a little bit about that?
My earlier work is also in this kind of sort of what you call observational cinema mode, where I don't do interviews and there is no voiceover narration. At the most, there's a little bit of text. So and this kind of filmmaking does require a lot of time and patience, because you don't get everything right away. You have to, shoot for a long time. So that's something that I have been doing for some time now. In this film, actually, it is quite different from the earlier one, which is a bit distant. And in this film, even while doing my research, I knew that that would not work, that I had to be close, because in the end, the film is about communication. And it's a very delicate communication that is taking place. And it was important to be able to show the intimacy of those moments. And for that, I needed to be close. I knew that. Another thing was that we were really shooting in very cramped, small homes, of which there would be a big bed, and there was very little place to move also. So the earlier film was in a desert, a vast expanse of space, So this was, most of it was indoors. I mean, everything with the families and with the patients was indoors. And of course, I was from the very beginning aware of sort of the moral, ethical dimensions of shooting people at the time when they were the most vulnerable, and also they were very fragile. And so it was always something at the back of my mind, always. So we did start out with some rules. So, for example, one of the rules was that I was never going to shoot with the patient alone. So I have never visited any of them without the team. So the team was always there. And I would never be in a room alone with the patient without the team or a family member being present. So that was one of the rules I had established from the very beginning, that this I would not do, because should I be doing something they were uncomfortable with, they would be sure to tell me. So that was one of the rules that I had made clear. The other thing was that I would not show the caregivers, which is the team, outside of their working life. So I have a lot of people ask me about, oh, if you only had more information about that. But I was not going home with them, and I was not interested in their private lives. I only wanted to show, I wanted the viewer to understand what kind of people they are by seeing how they work. And I think you get a lot of information about the kind of people they are without me taking you to their home or showing their kids or their husband or whatever. So that also was some rule that we had established long ago. Yeah, I mean, about the trust, of course, we took consent and all of that. And when you're, it may make you feel like, oh, we were not present, but we were surely present. And we are not inconspicuous. I mean, it was a team of 3 people with a camera, with a boom rod mic. I mean, it's not like you can forget us that we are there. But I must say, and this is something that I'm always very surprised, I still continue to be surprised by how much people are, I mean, just the generosity of people, just absolutely in their most trying moments, they were always so welcoming. And I mean, you're only seeing like about 2 or 3 visits, but we have visited them every week for weeks, over months, So, yeah, and of course, there were patients who said from the very beginning that, no, we don't want to do it. But the ones who said yes, they really went all the way. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we'll start with Reena. You have shall I, is there another mic? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, could you, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, could you tell us something about the organization itself, please?
Yeah, so this is an NGO called Cancer Support, and they work in Delhi, but now also in the outskirts like Gurgaon, and I think now also in Punjab. But, so this was an organization started 25 years ago. In fact, they just celebrated 25 years this year. And they give free home care-based services. So they send a team to people's homes. They mostly work with cancer patients, but they will also take in patients if they get a request from other patients. They don't refuse people. So, but their work is primarily with cancer patients, and they are also one of the few organizations that can stock morphine and can give morphine. So they give free medicines. And of course, they give emotional and sort of psychological support along with pain management and home care. yes, all right. Okay, we didn't. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe you can talk a little bit more.
Yeah, so I've seen this, film several times. It has been staged, and I think Farida has done a fantastic job of just portraying the kind of work we do. I'm on the management committee of Can Support, and it is a passionate organization with compassion. And I've been associated with them for the last 5 years or so, and some fantastic work that this. And palliative care is one of the most neglected, end of life. Everyone wants to, put money around, teaching, educating kids, getting them livelihood, women empowerment, this, that, and the other. But dignity of end of life, I think, is a right that every human being has. And there is very, very little, minuscule stuff that happens around it.
Yeah, in fact, even in medical college, doctors are not taught this, and this should have been part of it.
In Bangalore, there is Karuna Shray, but that is a residential facility. But Can Support is very, very unique because they go to people. The idea is not to put people in a secluded, separate place, but to really go and give them what they need in their own familiar environment. And that's the unique side of it, and that's what comes out very, very well in Farida's film.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what you said about coming to know about those people, it's such dogged, the calm, the dogged sense of calm that they bring to every home and to every situation is very, it's the determined calm, yes, there are several questions. There's someone here and then, at the back and then here and then there, yeah.
I'm Dr. Jagdish Chinnappa, and I work at Manipal Hospital. I've trained partially in palliative care online too. So I congratulate you for this beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Film. A couple of quick comments on this. One is that Pallium from Kerala has an online course for not only doctors but even lay people on how to give palliative care for their relatives or friends if they need some training. And this is, I think, a very useful program. It's online, so you don't have to really go anywhere. So that's one. The second thing is I really congratulate you for getting a good consent from such a vulnerable population. It's, I think, a very, very big challenge to get any kind of a consent. And I'm sure you must have gone through at least many patients before you got 2 or 3 of them to accede to this. One of them, of course, was in his right frame of mind to give a consent. Hanif, I think, was his name. So he could give consent, but the other 2 is very difficult to really get a good informed consent.
So 2 of them, even Meherchand was perfectly in his senses when we first met him. So they were very clear about giving their consent. Muni was aware of what we were doing when we met her. I mean, what you're seeing is when she was really quite bad, but we met her when she was a bit better, and she was very aware of what we were doing. And the family was also very supportive. So it was always a combination of the patient and the family. So there are only 2. I mean, I must say, of course, a lot of patients said no, but a lot of them said yes. So we have actually shot with a lot of other patients as well. Their story never made it in the film because of also the duration. But I would say that there were only 2 of the ones who withdrew their consent at maybe 2 or 3 visits that we had shot and withdrew their consent. So that was only 2, and they both happened to be very young patients who were also very worried about how they looked. So maybe it had to do also with the demographic, but I thought, yeah.
There is, there, and then there's someone here, and then the person in the blue, yeah.
It was a good film, Farida, and you've done a lot of research. So in the end of the film shows 1% of the patients get access to palliative care. So what about the rest? I mean, is government or any NGOs or any agencies doing about it? Have you researched into this, or you think there is a possibility in the future to look at other patients as well in terms of cost and also access both, because palliative care is expensive too. That's what I could see in this film.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
not
No,
quite understood the question, but
So, no, I think the question is that since only 1% of people
Oh,
get
yeah, oh, yeah.
this, the others who don't.
the others don't get it because it doesn't exist. It's not there. I mean, most of the hospitals that you go to don't have a palliative care department. There are a few like AIMS or, of course you have the Tata Memorial in Bombay and some of the big hospitals that have a palliative care department. Otherwise, there isn't one. We don't have trained doctors in palliative care. It's not even a field of medicine in India, So it is, I think now in the new thing, it is going to be part of the medical 4 or 5 years that they actually study about palliative care. But otherwise, doctors don't study about it. And they also don't know how to talk about death. They don't know how to talk about, discuss with their patients about this. So, these questions are never clearly answered, and also how do you talk about it? They're not trained. So I think that is the problem. Do I see any developments in the future? I hope so. I hope that there will be.
Yeah, there's someone here in the second row. Yeah.
I really don't know what to say. It's really a film that leaves me very little to say. Unless has been in a situation like this, one will not understand what is the meaning of the relationships built between those people. Yes. That I thought was really worth watching. The relationships in the caregiving team and the relationships they built with the families. It's a question of relationships.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
And it's really more than anything else, that. And in that relationship, the two things that stand out for me, the essence of what I think the medical profession or even humanity is all about. It's about, you can put it in any word you like. It's a question of feeling that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And that you are nothing without anybody else.
Absolutely.
That sort of thing. That, and also truthfulness.
Yeah, they're honest.
There is both love and truth, if you want to put it like that. And that, I think, is the outstanding thing about this whole. I think it's such a natural thing, and we don't understand it. We take it for granted, or we just deny it very easily, because despair is very natural. Despair is natural. Yeah. Cynicism is very waiting for us at any turn. So, I don't know what to say. I am very moved by this movie. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're...
Yes, I understand. No.
Yeah.
Bye.
There's somebody here also after that, yeah. Sorry.
Farida, wonderful movie. Okay, I had personally experienced, but one question is, at any point of the time during the movie, families discussed about euthanasia, or the patients discussed about euthanasia, kind of a thing?
No, not in any of the patients that of course you hear Maherchan talk about suicide, but assisted euthanasia, no, not at all. I never.
Is it because of the people are not aware of it, or is it because actually?
I think some of them because they're not aware of it, and for others it's probably not even a possibility. In India it's impossible.
One question about the statistics. Before you get the 5 people consent, how many people you reached out? Because you got the 3 people and 2 people dropped out. But before these 5 people agreeing for it to shoot, how many people totally you reached out? What is the ratio?
Not 5, you shot with more.
I have shot over nearly 2 years. and I have shot many people. And I can give you, I don't know, maybe about 20, 15, 20 people, maybe. Yeah.
There's someone here too, Sunanda, who's been waiting for a long time. Yeah, this.
I just wanted to congratulate you that just the heading is so fantastic. Watch over me, in the end, being there is all that matters. I think you did a marvelous job in such a difficult thing. Because in that congested areas to do that shooting was just amazing. I just want to tell all of you all that I am the CEO of Karnashaya, Bangalore Hospice Trust. We are a 73-bed hospice, totally free. We run 3 home cares. We know Harmala Gupta very well. We know can support. So if there's any need for palliative care, we are here in Bangalore. We are currently building a 110-bed hospice in Bhubaneswar. Again, it will be free of charge.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you for making such a moving and such a sensitive film about such a difficult subject. And for me, even though the subject was grim, the takeaway is still the power of human empathy, and there's still a sense of hope, and I think you've done a great job of achieving that.
Thank you.
Thank you. There were some things that I observed which I really liked in terms of the style of filmmaking. I think the pace of the film was really beautiful, and I loved the way you had those transition sequences and the kind of shots you chose and the kind of music which kind of juxtaposed life against death and made it like even more evocative. So I really liked the way the film was edited. Yeah. So I really liked the editing of the film.
Thank you.
Was there a reason that you chose to do the film in black and white?
Yes, very much. It was.
She asked if there was a reason why Farida chose to make the film in black and white.
Yes, absolutely, there was a reason, and it was from the very beginning. So when I was on my research trip, I would take still photographs, and when I looked at them, it was clear to me that this film would never work in color, because what black and white is able to do is that it's really able to take away all the distraction. It pares it down to the very essential, and that's what I wanted. I wanted the essential core of what was going on. And I didn't want color, because color can be very distracting, especially when you have no way to control it. I couldn't control the curtains on the walls or the bed covers, I couldn't do that. And then it can be very distracting. And in this film, I was very clear that I didn't want it, anything that could be distracting. And for me, this film is not so much about the place. It could very well be any anonymous city. It doesn't really matter. So it was not about showing the place. So that was the reason.
Also, in terms of the characters, I found it very interesting, like how they were so different in their approach towards the care. Like the lady in the longer hair was always very sensitive, and she was always supportive.
She was the counselor.
She was the counselor, whereas the one in the short hair was kind of hard-nosed and just kind of.
She was the doctor.
Yeah. So did you intentionally cast the characters in such a way that there would be different perspectives on how they were dealing with the patients, or these were just the people that you were following?
This was their team. This is how they had been working like this much before I came on the scene. There are about 24, 25 teams that go to different parts of Delhi. And so I like this team very much because one of the things that I found was that they were very good listeners, and that I think is very important, because they needed to be able to listen. And I needed those moments of silence also, because in a film where there is a lot of talk, you need those, you need just a sense of somebody actually being there and listening. And that's what when I went, so I would go with them. I mean, before we started shooting, I would go along with the team to see how things were, just not shoot anything, but, and just observe how they were working. And I just like them very much. I also like them as people, so.
And those bits in Malayalam in between were fantastic.
Yes.
In Delhi. I'm just curious to understand what was your, when you got consent, what did you tell them you were doing? Because when did they think they were in a very lonely place and you were trying to project it to the world, or what was your spiel to them as to what you're trying to do?
So the way it went was, as you can see, actually there are two first visits in the film, where the team is meeting the patient and the family for the very first time. They have never met before. So what would happen was that when they made the first initial phone call, agreeing on a time to come and visit, they would ask for consent on the phone. So they would already ask the family, is it okay, we have a team who's filming, can they come, can they film you? And only if at that stage they said yes, we went along. And then once we were there, I would explain what we were doing. So I said that I wanted to showcase the work of this team and that I was making film on palliative care and on the services and the kind of care that they give, and whether they would be okay with us coming with them every time that they visited you. And so there were the ones who said yes. And so, I mean, in a way, because we were going so often, we became like part of, we weren't part of the team, but we became a part of the team, So I think the frequency of the visits helped a lot in also building that trust. They would see us every time. And they would say, have tea, have biscuits, have this, so, it was
Thank you for the film. A thought that came to my mind when I was watching is, I think there's still a long way to go in terms of even the care that is being given. For instance, there was this, the biases of the team, in fact, like for instance, something like how their belief about thinking about suicide, or about not to cry, for instance. So I wish at some points that they would say, oh, it's okay to cry, instead of saying don't cry. So there's also those thoughts that came up for me. And has your view of that, is that different from the film, or did you choose to just keep it there and as a commentary on like what is anyway happening already?
I think what we also think also comes from our own class bias, I think, also, not our own ideas about it are not
the norm, so to speak.
Yeah, they're not the norm. That is not how it always should be. So even though, I may be uncomfortable with this, I felt that maybe for the family members, this was the right thing that they should hear, So I mean, with Hanif, when he's talking about suicide and the kind of things she says, for him in his context, it made a lot of sense, So, I think, and so I wouldn't take it out. Not because it makes me uncomfortable. That would never be a reason why I would take it out.
Sure, thank you. Yeah.
No, and in fact, when you come to know at the end that finally the dog
he
does reach Hanif, and he does improve, and finally that's what it's all about,
what it was
this
about,
sort of medical care. Yeah.
Good evening, ladies. So I just wanted to pick out one aspect of this film that I felt seemed missing. So all throughout the three characters that you've portrayed here, a missing piece was that, with all the heavy medication, like treating terminal illness, there was a part that temperament of the patients were missing. As in, a temperament is a very crucial part when it comes to treating patients with terminal illness, and I was just surprised as to how this this actually never came out. Probably it's the way you chose your patients, or the palliative team recommended the kind of patients. But I don't know. That's a very debatable thing. But I just wanted to know, was there any off-screen temperament of patients that never went into the film?
No, I mean, I think temperament-wise, I think perhaps Muni is perhaps the one that you feel the least her personality, perhaps, because she was already very sick. But the other two, you get their temperament. I mean, Meherchand from the first visit, he's absolutely, he's not, doesn't even look sick. I mean, he's perfectly in his senses, and you absolutely get his temperament. With Muni, you also have to understand that most of the patients, by the time they call, and by the time the family calls the helpline of cancer support, the patient probably has less than 3 months to live. So they're really, they get called very late, and so they have a very short time with the patient.
Why is the call for palliative care towards the end, at least?
Because people are not aware. People don't know that they can call much, much earlier, Yeah, trying different treatments, yes.
Yeah, people are trying to get treated. They want to go to hospitals. They want to get, chemotherapy, this drug, that drug, and doctors are not all the time sort of telling them that some of these things may not be of any help.
Yeah.
And will actually make the situation worse,
Okay, I have one more thing to ask Farida, which is the way you have stayed on Maniamma, Sini and Dr. Reena Sharma. Apart from the silences that you mentioned when they're actually just listening all of the time, but there are also other times when you have stayed on them, in the film, and that actually brings out, in a sense, their personalities and how they do it, but also for anybody who has had any experience with caregiving for, if not the terminally ill, but the very seriously ill, is well aware of the tremendous energy that it requires. No, the emotional and psychological and physical energy of not flagging and not at things saying, oh God, this is all just too much. And what comes through these frames and through your stays on these three women is to me, in fact, that energy. That, where but towards the end, when you see them in the car driving, you see that tiredness, you see because you cannot remain unaffected. It's not, it is not the kind of job where it must be at the end, finally, that you give everything and then you have to watch this person.
Absolutely. I think it must be one of the toughest jobs in the world to do.
Yes, and it is so, without bringing it up in any other way, but simply through the images, I feel that energy and that, that dogged, the only word that I can, that comes to mind is that determined way of providing support comes through very, very well.
And I think when you're a filmmaker, of course, you're a filmmaker and you're shooting this and you think you can handle it, but you can't.
That was my other question.
So you can imagine, and I'm not doing all that hard work, I'm just making a film, but, and they are doing the real work. So you can just imagine how hard it is, because it's very difficult to separate the two. And and when you do, it creates a lot of dissonance, like you feel that you're like in two bits, that one you are a job that you're doing, and the other you are a human being and you're reacting to the situations as a human being, and that can create a lot of tension and dissonance. At least for the filmmaking team, it did. And Well, also, I like to stay on people's, I think there's a tendency to move too much, and that's usually in films, just the camera is moving too much. And I think so much is lost. If you only waited, that's the key, for me, it is the key. And to have patience and to wait, and not to always show the one who's talking. Show me the face of the one who's listening. Because the talking I can hear. I have an audio and I can hear it. But it's the expression of the person who's listening that tells me how they're responding to the one who's talking. So I think these are things that I watch very much on my mind when I'm shooting a film. Yeah.
We have till 9.
Hi, good evening. My name is Vaibhav. I am a law student. I really loved the past, like say, from 6:30 till now has been a really wonderful time.
Thank you.
The lower half of my body was always like, leave this room, it's a very uncomfortable place. But my head was like, stay, it's worth it. And I more than anything else, as an audience member, I saw the hard work that went in to make the movie in whatever aspect it is. So thanks a lot for that. The thing that I wanted to essentially bring light to is I work in the lines of emergency care, and we're also working on like no terms and conditions insurance policy. And the main reason why I thought of coming to an event like this was that it was something to do with medicine and something to do with my line of work. So I thought maybe I could meet some people who understand what's happening. But considering that we have such a large gathering, I mean, like, hats off to you. Apart from that, nothing else that I can say.
Thank you. I know it is a difficult film to watch.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of it. And so I applaud all of you for sitting through it, because I know it is intense, it's uncomfortable, and it's also uncomfortable because we have to also confront our own mortality, right? And that's uncomfortable. But I'm very happy that you stayed through it and you didn't walk out.
Thank you. Also, a question that I would, as a student and as someone who's residing in Bangalore, what role do you think someone like me can play with people like you, people like CanSafe, people like Karuna? So if you can throw some light onto that.
That's a difficult one to answer.
Maybe people who
are in the field, yes,
from Can Support might be able to answer it better. Or
Sure. Thank you. Also, last note, despite being a very uncomfortable film, I can see a lot of calmness in the room, so thanks for that.
Thank you. One.
You have your team members. Okay, you have your team members. This is your subject, but for this team, it's more about their work.
Yes.
Entire 3 months journey, they might have gone through the various emotions, but can you walk through their emotions actually?
Of the team?
Yeah.
by team, you mean
the
caregiving
palliative care
or
team?
the filmmaking team?
Filmmaking team.
The filmmaking team.
Because filmmaking team, at the start of it, they are not part of the subject,
Yeah.
they are more about this.
Yeah.
And so over the period of the 3 months, actually, they just go through various emotions.
2 years.
Yeah. So,
2 years of filming, yeah.
And editing then after that. It was, when you're there on location, it's, you're doing a job and it's only afterwards when it really starts hitting and it sort of piles up. So, for example, at home, now I have to say this because the person who done the camera work is my husband. And so at home we had a lot of discussions about dying, about what to do. We have a small son, about, how would we arrange this? These things, that were a lot of discussions on this. I know the sound recordist, for example, he's a really quiet, calm guy, and we shot this Hanif scene that you see with the suicide on the terrace when he's very sick. And we come down, and he has this really bad fight with the car driver, the car that we've rented for the shoot. And it is completely it's disproportionate, but it's also completely out of character for him. So you can feel that all that stress that has been built up comes out in some way, right? So, I mean, these were some of the things. The editor had a really hard time with the material. She said, I have to take days off, I can't do this. So it was like that, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, every film that you make actually changes you, and a film like this, I can imagine, what kind of how it would have changed.
But I must say that I would never not want to do it. Yeah, I mean, it has also enriched my life so much. Because you see humanity so up close, and you're filled with hope, because you know that it's not all bad. Otherwise, it's hard with the news we get every day. It's hard to remember that.
Okay, so thank you, Farida, for coming to Bangalore for the screening. Thank you all for coming to the film. And of course, a very heartfelt thank you to BIC for our partnership with them ongoing. Thank you, Rajshekhar, for everything, for the wonderful projection and for all the technical support that you always provide. And thank you to the other members of BIC as well, Sneha and Sandhya. Good night to all of you, and hope to see many of you next month for our screening. For those of you who've come for the first time for a Vikalp screening, Vikalp screens one documentary film every month at Bangalore International Center. Those of you who are not on the BIC mailing list but would like to have information about our screenings, do we have our book right now? Sunanda, we don't, but we can pull out a piece of paper. If you would like to get onto our mailing list, you could leave your emails for us. Thank you very much.